Hey guys, it's me. And today I'm going to be addressing something, and then I'm going to be talking about a specific episode. So, there was some critique, some of it warranted, some of it I thought was a little needlessly harsh about my last analysis. That would have been episode 57. I did rush through that. I just didn't have time, and so I very much just kind of threw this together and just sent it out. I did not rush through my reaction. I definitely took as much time as I normally do with my reaction because, well, all I'm doing is watching. But the commentary, I usually do some prep work. Like, I have obviously reacted to the episode, and then I edit it, and then I rewatch it, and while I'm rewatching it, I take notes. And I think that's one reason why my analysis of episodes is maybe a little more detail-oriented or in-depth or whatever. I'm able to rewatch it and kind of make those connections that maybe other people don't. And so, I mean, I do it because it takes more time, and that's why I can't churn out as many reactions as a lot of other people, because I'm focused on really getting to the nitty-gritty of theme and character development and cultural references and artistic inspiration. And so I didn't do that with this one, and I think that really upset some of you. And I'm sorry that I let you guys down on that one. I didn't feel good about it when I put it out. I just felt like I rushed through it. And so I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to kind of hear my actual thoughts that I've had time to really think and process and rewatch and take notes and do what I would normally do anyway. So, all right. So that being said, let's talk about episode 57. And then I'll be watching episodes 58 and 59. Probably not tonight, but I'm definitely hoping tomorrow. I might wake up early. We'll see. All right. So the first thing that I picked up on with this episode is the Jewish persecution theme. The fact that they called the kids vermin and devil bloods. And I was just like, okay, that's the direction that they're going. It's clear that there's a ghetto scenario. People have been kind of blocked in. So it's just like, okay, this is what this is. So I was emotionally, mentally prepping for that. And I'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts and my feelings about that a little later on in this little video. But anyway, I just want to kind of tell you that my kind of observations, one might say. So I found it interesting that they used the word paradise. Instead of talking about like the camps, it's talking about like their paradise. I just thought that was interesting to kind of turn a phrase. And it wasn't just paradise in general, it was their paradise. And that definitely got me thinking. I was like, what is this? It was a very unique term that it definitely had like a positive feeling to the word, like paradise, but the way they were using it with so much fear, it'd be like, oh no, like these are like the camps. The death camps is kind of what it felt like. And so I just thought that was an interesting use of that word that, I don't know, I thought it was interesting. Where they talk about like when the bad Marleyan soldier and Grisha's dad are talking, and they're talking about like the place of their people, how it's beneath and below, which definitely made me think of the Holocaust, where you had talking about atoning for their ancestors' sins, which there that narrative was prevalent during World War II and the time leading up to World War II, where there was this idea that the reason why Germany fell in the First World War was because of the Jews, which obviously is not remotely true, but that was definitely propaganda that was kind of widespread during that time period. So I did think that that was an interesting thing, that in our history that the Jews were kind of blamed for an economic crash. And so there's definitely like sins and penance and those types of things. And in this show where it's talking about the Jews and sin, and they're paying, or that the Eldians had to essentially suffer or have penance for the sins of their ancestors. So I thought that was kind of it was very obvious to me that that's what was going on. Also, the fact that the father, during his conversation with the soldier, was demeaning himself. And that was also, if you look back at documentaries and docudramas, or even you read books, that was actually something that happened, where you had a lot of the Jewish leaders that were kind of lowering themselves. They felt powerless. And this was very much seen in this episode, that Grish's father indeed felt powerless. So yeah, those are some things. All right, so I'm kind of going chronologically from as I rewatched, I took notes. So all right, so then they talk about Emir Fritz and how she made contact with the devil of all the earth, which, I mean, it definitely looks like a Satan-y type character, and that she was granted the power of the Titans. And this looks like a reference to Eve. I mean, you've got this kind of demon creature kind of curled over, offering her something. She's holding an apple. I mean, that's pretty overt. And obviously that is something that is in early Jewish writings, so it makes sense that they would go with that. But this is what I found interesting. So I was like, okay, that's what they're doing. Emir, what does Emir mean? Is that a Jewish name? It didn't really seem like it, so I looked up the etymology of Emir. And Emir is actually a male Norse progenitor of the giants. So I thought that was really cool that they took that name from Norse mythology and kind of worked it into this narrative. And the fact, Emir was hermaphroditic and produced titans from his arm and groin sweat, which I thought was kind of gross and graphic. And yes, and he was suckled on the teat of a mythical cow. So there you have it. And eventually his body was torn apart, and his progeny was to create the elements that would build up all of creation. That's kind of the Norse myth in a nutshell. I'm sure I'm leaving out intense details, but this is, I don't want to talk about this the entire episode or video or whatever. So I thought that was interesting, that splitting her, that in the show she's split into 9 titans, and in the mythology or the myth, that he is ripped apart to essentially build creation. So there is that kind of dovetail. Now, there are 9 titans. So I know that while I was recording, I was having problems remembering them, but when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, I'm going to write these down and try to figure out which ones that I remember seeing. Titans 1 and 2, Aaron has 2 of them. So he got the one from his dad that he got from the owl. And then he also got the royal family. So the founding titan, or the royal titan, from his dad. So his dad essentially had 2 at one point in time, and then he gets 2 from his dad. So those are 2 of them. The third one, Emir has 1. So, and she got that by eating Reiner and Berholt's friend. And because she'd been roaming around for 60 years, and then just stumbles upon them and eats one of them and then gets this power. So Reiner has 1. Berholt had 1 and then gets eaten. So now Armin has it. Zeke has 1. I'll talk a little bit more about Zeke and kind of my response or lack of response to the reveal of who Zeke was. But that's later on in the notes. And then you have Platypus Turtle Titan. And then you have Annie. So those are 8. I can't think of a 9th one, which means either I'm forgetting, we haven't seen them, or they haven't revealed their Titany power. I don't know, but that's where I'm going. I would love to look at all the different Titan kind of qualities and see if those correlate to elements of creation in the Norse myth. I think that would be interesting, particularly because you have clearly like Beast Titan, which is an animal, and you've got colossal and armored. I just wonder if there are certain elements that are maybe embodied in the different Titans. I don't know. All right, so the narrative so we're still talking about like the narrative of the Eldians, and that, his dad is telling him. And I thought that was really, I almost found the idea of the Eldians being bad and that they had done the genocide and the cleansing, and I found that unique, and that essentially the Eldians, Grisha and everyone, is grappling with, are the sins of my father my sins? I find that narrative unexplored often and intensely compelling. So I was really looking forward to that being something to explore, particularly because it's taking what is the standard Holocaust kind of genocide narrative and kind of turning it and being like, no, maybe there's a reason, and just making it different. I mean, I was really prepped for that, and I was like, okay, this is getting interesting. Are the sins of our fathers our sins? Should we have to pay for the sins of our fathers? Particularly because that's kind of seen in his discussion with his dad, where he's kind of like looking down on his father. Like, is his father's kind of impotence, like, should that be his impotence? I don't know. I was really excited for that. So that kind of leads me to my disappointment later on the episode, because I was thinking they were doing something a little more creative with that kind of genre of narrative, and then maybe they weren't, and it was all a lie. I was disappointed. Great Titan War sounds a lot like the Great War. In fact, the Great Titan War, the Great War, which is World War I. So it's just kind of stuff is being thrown at us left and right. Like, this has to do with the Germans and the Jews. So that's why, I don't know. I was looking forward to kind of a twist on that, but it turns out that no, they're not gonna, and that was a little disappointing. Sorry, but that's how I feel. When he discovers the truth about his sister and what happened to her, and he talks about, I'd show them who the real devil was. That really, to me, felt like it was then feeding into the narrative I thought they were going with, which was the sins of the father or the sins of the son. Like, that I don't mean his father, I mean like ancestors, and the fact that they kind of were seeking, that they had been bad or evil or whatever, and the fact that he decides to grab power, go for power as vengeance, to pay to turn into a devil. And it's like, is he gonna go the route of his ancestors? I was really looking forward to seeing that. And then later on, when he finds the scrolls and it's like, actually, all that stuff was a lie, just made me think, really? Dang it. Like, I was really looking forward to seeing that narrative playing out. So I think that's why you interpreted my disappointment. The truth was in a literal scroll, which the Torah, comes in a scroll. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is like hitting the nail on the head. Like, this is the German-Jew conflict. Woof. And so it just felt like there wasn't as much nuance as there has been throughout the rest of the show. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, like the fact that we just discovered that, like, actually the Marleyans, they were bad. They're still bad. And the Eldians, they actually were really good, and then, they'll still be good. And I'm hoping the show has spent a lot of time in the gray areas of like conflict. So I'm hoping that it's actually not going to be as cut and dry as that there are going to be some good Marleyans and that they maybe had some grievances. And the Eldians, there are going to be some, obviously we've seen some bad Eldians, but maybe they're not completely innocent. I'm really hoping that they go that route and kind of blur the lines between good and evil, right and wrong. Because I feel like in those gray areas, that's where you really, really, really start to grapple with real issues and build cool, like epic plot and really have characters grow through the grappling of that, kind of dealing with that tension. So anyway, that's that. We've discovered that the founding Titan is in the wall and that the Marleyans have taken control of those other Titans, which makes me wonder how they did that. I mean, did they do that through mind control? Did they do that through bribery or threatening a family or whatever? I don't know. I'm really interested to see how or maybe they used like technology. I don't know, but how a group of people that can't turn into Titans actually were able to then take, control of the Titan power. Or maybe they found Eldians that were sympathetic to the Marleyan cause or like brainwashed them and then had them eat the now de-Titanized Titan holders. I don't know. I'm not being very articulate and I'm sorry, but it's late and I'm sunburned. I went to the lake. Yeah, but the fact that I really want to know why the founding Titan actually retreated. Like, was there a treaty? Did he feel like he couldn't win? But I mean, I guess if he's the founding Titan who has control over the other, like all the Titans, you gotta wonder, like, why didn't he just like scream like Eren did and have all the Titans rush and kill everyone? Like, why did he retreat? I don't know. Now, here's the thing. I already knew about Zeke. Someone spoiled it for me, like, the moment Zeke, the Beast Titan, appeared. Someone put that in the comments, and so I read it. So I've known for a while that Zeke was his half-brother. So the reason why I wasn't like, what? It's because I already knew. And I haven't had a lot of things spoiled for me, but that was one of them. So that's why I didn't really respond epically to it because it was old news to me. So don't be angry at me. Be angry at that other person who spoiled it for me. Let's see. So, okay, now Marley is on the move rather than just kind of letting the Eldians do their thing on the island, which it seems that's what they've done for a long time. They want the oil, right? They want like the fossil fuels or the oil that's underneath the Eldian island of paradise. And I thought this was I'm going to say somewhat deserved jab at the United States. I do think that's kind of what they were going with. I'm a nuclear power girl, so I'm not super upset about that. Actually, I'm not upset about it at all. But I did see the kind of that this nation that has all this power and this technology and these planes, these submarines, all this stuff is now going after the reservoirs under this other power and is declaring war. And yeah, it just seemed like a jab at the States. So whatever. All right. So when he asks his son to become a soldier, I was just like, oh man, I think it's one of those things. I mean, I guess maybe he had to have his son go into the program early, but that just seems like a lot to put on a child. I'm not surprised that the child was like, my parents, traitors. I'm going to save myself and my grandparents. That puts Zeke's monologue in the last episode, or 2 episodes ago. I can't remember. But where he's talking to Eren about like our father and the differences. Like that makes a lot of sense. Where his father, their father, Grisha, was trying to get back to the Eldians. And I guess maybe he was also angry that the Eldians had kind of left all those other people on the main continent to kind of suffer and die. Zeke seems to be on the Eldian side, as is Berthold, Reiner, and Annie. Which really is like, I now see why Reiner was so conflicted. I mean, he's now, when he was at basic, he was able to be with people like him and his people essentially, but they weren't his people because he was a spy. Like his mental breakdown now makes a lot more sense given this. So then when we are on the wall now, we're on the gate essentially into paradise, that giant open desert expanse. And it seemed familiar to me, like the guy who was watching the interrogations. I was like, wait a second, I bet that's that guy. The owl. I started putting it together right before the reveal. What was his end game? What's his story? I would love to know what Owl's story was. So hopefully we'll find out. But if not, but yeah, I'm really wondering. All right. Oh, when Dinah is brought to the wall and Grisha's there. Oh, and she says, no matter what form I take, I will come and find you. It was about there that I was just like, oh, I know who this is. I know who this is. It's the woman who ate Aaron's mom. And it's because she was searching for Grisha. It seems like all the Titans, even though they are mindlessly eating people, still have some drive that is innate to who they are as people. You have her looking for Grisha, and she ends up at Grisha's house and eats his wife. You have Connie's parent, which I'm still confused about how she turned into a Titan. I hope that's addressed, or I hope I haven't forgotten. She returns back home looking for him or looking for anyone. So the fact that she has that drive, I now kind of want to rewatch this whole series and look at what the Titans are doing to see if we can see glimpses of the drives that lead them to where they are going. So that would be something that would be really interesting to look at. Those are things that I think are so compelling about this. So even though I maybe am a little disappointed or a little like about this particular reveal, that doesn't mean that I don't think this is one of the most brilliant shows I have ever watched. Seriously. So, oh man, and when the Marleyan soldier talks about like the educational aspect, like he's doing all these things for education, really made me think of, is it Mangala? I think it's Mangala, where he did these absolute deplorable things to humans because they were interesting and they were for science and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy sounds like Dr. Mangala. All right. So in general, I really enjoyed the episode. I found the reveal to be a little, at least the reveal that we've seen currently, a little hackneyed, just because there are so many shows and books and movies that look into this. I'm hoping, and I really have faith that the creator is going to look at that in a unique and fresh way. Just on face value right now, it doesn't look that way, but I have been so impressed with his ability to tell a strong narrative and develop good characters that I have a feeling he's going to take us somewhere great. Like I trust him, even though the framework that he decided to build the reveal on is something that has been explored a lot. I do think that he's going to put on that scaffolding some really interesting nuggets and twists that is going to make me question my love of some characters that I really like, and maybe question my hatred for a people that seems evil but maybe isn't entirely in the wrong. It's kind of what I'm hoping, but we will see. And that's all I have. That's my analysis, and that is almost 30 minutes of me talking nonstop, and I am sure you are ready to do something else. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so incredibly much for watching, and I'll be watching episode 58 as soon as possible. It's 10:30, so I'm probably not going to watch it tonight, but I will get it out to you as soon as I possibly can. All right. Until next time.